All right, so this is going to be part 2 of Notes 1, and we're going to talk about exponents, roots, and radicals. So there's a couple examples up here that I just want to clarify in terms of exponents, especially this first one. Not a huge fan of using a base 2 and a power 2, so let me kind of rethink what it looks like. If instead of using a base 2 and a power of 2, if I use a base 5 with a power of 2, I think it's a little easier to see that 5 squared actually means to use that base 2 times. You're not multiplying by 2, all right? And so 5 squared, or 5 times 5, is 25. And with the base 2 root, or base 2 power 2, it's a little bit more difficult to see, well, yeah, I took the base times the power. No, that's not what you do. Use that base as many times as the exponent indicates. So when you have an exponent of 3, that means you use this 3, that base, 1, 2, 3 times. So let's say I use, 4, for example. So if I do 4 to the third, that means I'm going to have 3 fours. So there's 1, 2, 3 fours. And then what does that actually equal? Well, 4 to the third power is 64, okay? Because that means I took 4 times 4, which is 16. 16 times 4 is 64, all right? So those are exponents. Now, roots and radicals are the kind of inverse to an exponent. So in this case, I was taking the same number and multiplying it with itself. So 5 times 5 to get that 25. Or 4 times 4 times 4 to get 64. Well, now I'm going to be looking at, in this first case here, right, square root, or root 49, means what number multiplied times itself. You can use little blank spots if you want to. So blank spot times blank spot has to equal 49. Now, the thing that matters with this is that the same number has to fill in the blank spot. So I can't say, 1 times 49. Well, yes, that's true, but that's not how a root works, whether it's a square root or any numeric root. Instead, that blank spot has to be filled with the exact same number. So the square root of 49 is 7. So that's what happens when you have a square root. Okay, so that's a square root. You're looking for 2 blank spots. Well, now that I've got a 3 here, this is a cube root or third root. That means I want 1, 2, 3 blank spots to multiply together to create the number 8. And again, the exact same number has to go on every one of those blank spots. So I can't do, 1 times 2 times 4. While, yes, that does make 8, it's not the same number in each case. So it has to be the same number. And the only way to make that happen is 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 makes 4. 4 times 2 makes the 8. So that means that the cube root of 8 is 2. Okay, so those are the examples that I gave you. Let's actually get into problem number 3, which is a bunch of simplifying roots. Nope, I lied to you. It's simplifying exponents. I looked down and I saw the word roots and I said it. All right, so for number 3 here, I'm going to show you work that I don't necessarily expect you to do all the time. For some of these, I think you can do them in your head. But 4 squared means 4 times 4, so that is going to be 16. 2 to the third means I've got 3 2's being multiplied together. We actually just talked about this one. That is 8. 8 squared means 8 times 8, so that's going to be 64. At any point, if you need to slow down, feel free to change the settings on YouTube, slow me down, or speed me up. Turn me into a chipmunk and see how it goes. 2 to the fourth, so I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4 2's. And that's going to be 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 makes another 8, and times the last one would be 16. Sorry about the glitch there. All right. Keep on sliding on over. Part E here, 6 to the second. So that means I'm going to use 2 6's, which is 36. 3 to the third we actually saw as one of the examples. So that's 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. This one is weird. G is weird. Anything that is a non-zero number raised to a 0 power. So this exponent being 0 makes things weird. But that example is going to be, so 2 to the 0 is actually 1. So any non-zero number raised to the 0 power is 1, okay? And it's a whole bunch of examples. We'll see about that in some other kinds of problems. To finish up H and I here, I think that's going to be the end of that row. Yes, it is. So we've got 5 times 5 times 5. So that's going to be 5 times 5 is 25, and then 25 times the third 5 is going to be 125. And last but not least, I need 2 to the 5th power. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2s. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 makes the final answer here of 32. So that's dealing with all of the exponents. I said the word right this time. I'm going to slide on down and do all the bits, parts, and pieces of question number 4 here. There we go. So again, things that I'm going to write that you may choose not to, up to you, but please make sure you are identifying the correct answer. So part A is a square root. So one number times itself, right? So 2 little blank spots has to equal 64. 8 times 8 is 64. Final answer, so root of 68 is 8. Please do not write down that the square root of 64 is 8 squared. That is incorrect. Okay. Part B here, which is the square root of 25. So blank spot times blank spot has to equal 25. The only number that can fit on both of those is 5. So square root of 25 is 5. Part C, I have a cube root, which means I need 3 blank spots. And again, same number has to be on each one of them. So we're going to go 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, and then 9 times 3 makes the 27. So that's going to be cube root of 27 is 3. Okay, so part D, we're back to square root. So blank spot times blank spot is 16. It's going to be 4 times 4 is 16, so the square root of 16 is 4. Now, yes, the number inside here and the number inside here are identical, right? Clearly, they're both 16. But this part D is a square root versus the 4th root in part E. And that 4th root means that I need 1, 2, 3, 4 little blank spaces there that all have to get filled in with the exact same number. So let's see what works here. 2 times 2 times 2. Yep, that's it. So how did I just check that? 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 makes 16. So the 4th root of 16 is 2. Part F, I have a cube root, so that 3 matters here. And I'm looking at 1, 2, 3 blank spots. And the only thing that can go in those 3 blank spots that's exactly the same number is a 4. So 4 times 4 makes 16. 16 times 4 is 64. All right, a couple more problems here. Part G, back to square root. So blank spot times blank spot is 100. That's going to be 10 times 10. So square root of 100 is 10. Part H, back to square root again. So blank times blank is equal to 81. How about a 9 times 9? So square root of 81 is 9. And part I, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little blank spots. And they all have to be the exact same number to multiply up to 32. That's going to be 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 times 2 makes 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And 16 times 2 makes 32. So the 5th root of 32 is 2. You may notice the very last 2 answers here, right? Part I and part I are in fact related. So 2 to the 5th power made our lovely 32. So when I'm looking for the 5th root of 32, that gets me back to that base of 2. All right, let me know if you have any questions or concerns. I'm going to go ahead and cut the video here. Last video for Notes 1 will be coming up next for order of operations.